worth nothing but chance, chance, and more chance. This are not thine elder matriarch station.
Hello everyone, how are you doing, Romans? Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I hope you're gonna have a fantastic holiday this year. So let's I want to start working on some of the skin here just to start bringing everything together a bit on this guy, and then we'll keep on working on the rest of his armor, because there is lots to do on the rest of his armor. He's got a lot of implants and scarification on his face too, so we'll certainly work on that as we paint and build everything up. But getting a base coat down, getting a general skin tone down gives us a nice place to start. Welcome on in, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a good beginning to the week, and hopefully the rest of your week goes very well this holiday week for those who celebrate and those who are getting together with family. Hope you have a safe trip. Hope you have a wonderful time. Whether it's blood family, chosen family, friends, whatever, wherever you end up, I hope it is a time of relaxation and not a time of stress for you. Hello, hello. How is it going? Welcome on in. We're gonna let that dry. Ford, thank you so much. We'll get your library card out here in just a second and get you that update, that new stamp month. I'm gonna let that paint dry. Make sure I don't overwork it by accident. How are you doing, Ford? I hope your week is going well. Now, Ford, here is your library card. Let's get you your stamp. Oh, you didn't. You gave out a gift sub to Rudest Bird. That wasn't yours. That's my bad. I completely misread. Rudest Bird, are you here? You just got given a membership to the Great Library. If you are not, don't worry about it. It's all good. I appreciate you being here at some point. And Ford, thank you for that gift sub. A gift membership. Very much appreciated. Let me go put that back. Yeah, I just reread that. All right. Let's pop back in here. Let's work on this guy, because I don't know I don't think Bird is here. Doing great. Things are winding down. I'm getting much needed downtime for the day job. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I am on PTO right now, so I'm also taking wind down time from the day job. It's very, very relaxing. Okay, so we're gonna work on the face just a little bit more. It's not quite fully dry everywhere yet, but we can at least start working on some of the stuff here, and we'll certainly do some blending. And right now I'm trying to work around some of these implants and other decorations and the like in his face. So this is going to look really stark and really glaring right now, but that's okay. We will blend this together and calm the colors down a little bit and make sure that they all kind of work together. So what I'm going to do now is take some of my original color. Droid Blackthorn, the tip I'm using right now is a Kalinsky Sable. It is a Rosemary & Co. Series 33 size 2. So Rosemary & Co. is an English company. They've been making all types of paintbrushes for a very, very long time. I do enjoy their brushes. This is what I'm using right now, but I have used other Kalinsky Sables from like Monument Hobbies, from Game Envy, which are both gaming companies here in the US. Their Kalinsky Sables are very reasonably priced. But if you want to go with like the artist level Kalinsky Sables, which can be a little bit better at times. I use Rosemary & Co. Da Vinci has good Kalinsky and Sables. Raphael has good Kalinsky Sables. And also, just keep in mind that I'm very light with how I'm touching the miniature. I'm not using a lot of pressure when I touch the miniature. I'm being very, very light with it. I'm not pushing hard when I'm applying paint to the miniature. It also that's something that ruins a lot of people's tips or distorts their tips while they're painting. Is people tend to not be aware of how much pressure they're putting on the model, and so they tend to put way too much pressure on the miniature or on the paintbrush, and it distorts the tip. Not always permanently, but while they're painting it distorts the tip, and they lose that precision. So I am barely touching the model. It is very, very delicate. That's probably one of the biggest things about why my brush's tip appears to be more pointy, is I am almost just whispering over the model, just enough to let the paint flow off a little bit, and that's it. What's the difference between OG Necromunda and the reboot? There are some differences in terms of the game system. I will say that the campaign system is nowhere near as robust, to my understanding. The campaign system is still there. It's just not quite as crazy and as detailed as it was in the OG. Obviously the models have been updated. The game has been updated. The art, so the game system's different. The miniatures are beautiful. Like the old school minis are also awesome. Like they've got that wonderful old school charm, but the new miniatures are just incredible. Let's see. I don't know enough about the old school game system to really give you a mechanical breakdown of what the difference is. I never played the original. the guy who got me into painting Warhammer and painting miniatures and miniature gaming in general, he played it, and he was my youth pastor, but I never played it with him. And I've never really read the old rules, so I couldn't give you more of a detailed breakdown than that. I know the lore is different, so the rat skins don't exist anymore. That was kind of a Necromundan native, almost indigenous equivalent in the original lore of Necromunda. They don't exist anymore. They're just a little too on the nose for more modern stuff. So now there's their replacement or their equivalent. Still do a lot of the same type of stuff. They're Beastmasters and things like that, but they're not quite as indigenous coded. They're more Fremenish in some ways from Dune. John, is that one half of the third best Cyber Savage team in the Pacific Northwest? No, this is not for Cyber Savage. That would be pretty cool, though. He'd be pretty awesome. Here's the mini I had from Cyber Savage. So let's compare the two sizes. Like, he'd be huge, but I'm waiting for the basing stuff to finish drying on him. Then I'm gonna prime him up. I need to do some gap filling, and then I'll work on him. And then I do have some Cyber Savage minis that I've been putting together, and I need to finish this project first, but here's one of the matriarchs. And I've been doing a lot of color research for the based on like He-Man and Thrundar and Thundercats and all these old Hanna-Barbarian type games, and or not games but cartoons to get their color palettes and things like that. So that's going to be drawing inspiration from them for those. I was talking about you, but I got you, John. Sorry, my bad. Third best Cyber Savage team in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, yeah, it is one half. I totally forgot about that. I think that's the other half, right? Is it the same John? Is that who I'm thinking of? I'm probably wrong. It is. That's the other half of the third best. The other half of the third best Cyber Savage team of at least last weekend. Let's see. Mr. Muffins, what are your favorite paints? Right now, Monument is probably my go-to, although I also very much like P3, and I have a lot of Army Painter Fanatic. But Monument Pro Acryl, those are my go-tos. Dun, dun, dun. To see if I missed anything else. I don't think I missed anything else. Ford says, still waiting for Mordheim to make an official comeback. Oh, Ford, I want that too. Although, like, on one hand, I want something like Mordheim to make a comeback, but also, I also don't want, like, full-on Mordheim to make a comeback, because the community has done an amazing job keeping Mordheim going. We could definitely use more people involved, obviously. But yeah, no, I'm there with you. Embeddus, how are you doing? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of messed that up, John. Hope you're doing well. That was a lot of fun. That was a great event. I wasn't sure when I first came to pick up the minis. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stay or not, but I'm glad I did. Very happy that I was able to stay, and we had a good game. 3 good games. Even if we didn't win all of them, I had a blast. I keep wanting to get a highlight down on the top of his lips, but it keeps making him look like a cat, so I don't think I'm going to be able to highlight up as high there, even though that would catch quite a bit of light. Makes him look like he's like, mew. Meow. The size of the brush? It is a size 2.
A wizard would like to renew their membership.
Scala, how are you doing? Thank you so much. We'll get your library card here in just a second. So other than Warhammer, what are the different types of minis you paint? So this is a mini from Ravaged Stars. This is not a Warhammer mini. So this is from a game called Ravaged Stars, and I'm painting that. I have 3D printed miniatures for different things that I'm going to be painting. I kind of want to do kind of a sci-fi derelict little diorama where this guy's kind of coming through an airlock into a derelict spaceship or something, just for fun, because I really like I like the mini quite a bit. I think it's really cool, but he looks like he's some kind of scientist in a hazard suit or something. Let's see. I painted plenty of Reaper minis just for fun. Don't play any physical D&D right now. All my D&D games that I play in are all virtual at the moment. We've painted Conquest, so this is a Conquest miniature that I've painted. Trench Crusade. I've got some Trench Crusade that I've painted. Here's one. And I have 2 whole factions of Trench Crusade that I kickstarted, and they're waiting for me to paint at some point. So that's some stuff that's really close to hand. Pretty good? Excellent. Glad to hear that. Let's grab your library card here. There it is, right at the top. All right, Scala, here is your library card. Let's get you your stamp renewal here. Boom. Look at that. Beautiful. 19 months. 19 months of stamps building up one over the other into a more and more colorful and beautiful pattern on the back of that card. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. Speed of Sound, how are you doing? Welcome on in. It's a lot of ink. It is a lot of ink. It's a lot of ink. It's very impressive. It's very impressive. Okay. I need not blue black. Let's just go black brown. I want to define his eyes just a little bit here.
A new member has applied for a library card.
Oh, thank you for the gift sub, Scala. That is very generous of you. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see.
A new member has applied for a library
card. Oh my goodness, we're at a level 2 already. Merry Christmas. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Am I missing anything? Am I missing anybody? I don't think so.
Card.
Oh my goodness. All right, we gotta take care of this really fast. Thank you all for you being here, for your patience, but I got to make sure that
a new member has applied for a library
card. I'm honoring these and making sure everybody gets their library cards here. There we go. Michael Paint's Minis. That is an old one, so I've got to fill out a new one for Michael Paint's Minis.
A new member has applied for a library card.
Believe you have one. Just need to pull it out. Need to find it here. There we go. That is a new one, so I don't need to remake that one. We did update the terms of the library cards a few months ago. So your old library cards, if you had an older one, you could only check things out for a week at a time. But now you get a full 30 days. Let's see. Okay, Jack the Reaper does not have one. Oh, thank you for the bits. Whisper, thank you so much. So we need to fill one out for Jack. And then Chimera Paints Minis. See if you have one or not. I don't believe you do. No, so we need a new card for you as well. And then Bettis, I think you have one. Thank you all for your patience while we go through this. I think you have one. I could be wrong. You do not. Okay, so we'll get one for you as well. Congratulations to everybody who got a gifted membership to the Great Library. I appreciate you all being here. All right. So I need to remake one and make 3 new ones. So don't worry, when we updated Michael Paints Minis, if you're here, if we updated we're updating your library card, your stamp history will transfer. Oh my goodness, why is this not letting go? So you're not going to lose any kind of progress on your stamp pattern. Alright, so we're going to get out the ink, the special ink. Appreciate everybody being here. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Just having people hanging out, watching some art, watching some creativity. Let's get this here just for now so people can kind of see what we've been working on. But right now, we have a couple of library cards to fill out. Michael Paints Minis, we need to get you a new one for the new library card, an updated one. Let's get that here. Make sure I'm going to spell this right. Let's see. Okay. There we go. There is a brand new library card. We'll get that those stamps transferred over when we stamp the new month. And now we've got 3 new ones. So we've got Michael Paints Minis and Feeric. You guys have yours. We'll start out with the other ones here. Everybody gets their own library card with a membership here, whether it's gifted or not. So Jack the Reaper. There's no A in the way you spell yours. I already messed up. All right, let's start that over again. Okay, there's one. And Chimera Paints Minis. There we go. Embedis 243. There is yours. So we're going to read off the terms of the library card for everybody here real quick. Just so everybody knows what they've signed up for here. All right, new people. This is for you. Let's open our hep chest here real quick. The bearer of this card is granted permission to remove materials from the Great Library for a period of no longer than 30 days. A penalty of 1 sip of paint water will be assigned to the bearer for each piece of material that is outside of the Great Library every day beyond 30 days. The bearer assumes all responsibility for any material damage to, magical damage, or mishaps associated with, and possessions or exorcisms through checked out materials. Okay, so let's get these stamps going. Bettis, here is your very first stamp that I know of. Boom. And then Chimera Paints Minis. Here's yours. And if you guys chat in the chat, you will notice that each one of you has a brand new Wizard's hat of your very own. Jack the Reaper, there's yours. Michael Paints Minis. Here's your updated stamp. And then Ferric, here is your updated stamp. Boom. Look at that. Look at those beautiful, gorgeous stamps. Look at that. Good. If you can't see anything, don't worry about it. These are magical stamps. Only wizards can see them. Those are tuned with the magic. You can see here that you can see them very clearly if you know what you're looking for. If you can't see them, that's okay. That's okay. Just hang out a little bit longer, and eventually you will learn enough magic and be exposed to it enough that you will be able to see it. But for now, just smile and nod and understand that these are gorgeous. These are beautiful. Really appreciate all of the generosity there. Thank you so much. Let's see. This one was ruined. Make sure that one gets destroyed so it's not used by some nefarious student or rival wizard to mess with the Great Library through one of its magical library cards. We must destroy those that are the cards that are defective and that I made a mistake on, and so I did. Can't open the library up to damage. Okay, let's get back here. And once again, thank you all for the hype train. Appreciate it very much so. Okay. So what we were going to do next was I was going to work on the eyes a bit. And for this, where did it go? Where did I put it? Here it is. I'm going to use my magnification goggles of spells and wizardry so that I could, see this really small detail on this fairly small miniature. Or his eyes, because we're painting eyes right now, so I need a little bit of assistance to see on this particular miniature, because his eyes are tiny. Oh my god, they're so small. Yeah, go for it. Feel free. Long as nobody ends up being a jerk, we're good. Thank you for asking. Okay. My head probably, yeah, got in the way there a little bit. Sorry about that, but sometimes you have to get up close and personal there. So we're gonna do a little bit more detailing, a little bit more highlighting on his face here. Nose is itching now. A little brighter. And on the eye socket. Okay. So I want these traceries on his skin. I'm going to treat them as non-metallic gold, I think. But I also want to make sure that they're readable. Do you think a wet palette is essential or just a luxury for most veteran painters? I don't think it's either. Dr. Soda, I am a Christian, I am a believer, but we don't really talk about religion here, so I appreciate your message. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, but let's leave it be for now. There's a time and place. But no, I don't think a wet palette is essential. I think it is very useful. I think it's extremely useful for longer painting sessions. Yeah, it's really useful for long painting sessions because it keeps your paint, like usable for a longer period of time. Otherwise, you might, if you're using a dry palette, if you're painting for a long time, you're gonna have to refresh your paint a lot more than you would with a wet palette. But no, it's not essential by any means. But it's also not something just for veteran painters. It is something that is useful for most people, especially if they're painting for more than just 30 minutes to an hour. But again, definitely not essential. How are you doing today? I'm doing well, Blood Raven. I hope you're doing well. Is a buddy from Irish Paints when he's doing? Oh, no worries. So I can't see every single chat message in a reasonable amount of time, so I do apologize. It took me a little bit to respond to that there, Wizard. But yeah, no, he's more perfectly fine. Just like, you know, a web palette is useful, just like these magnifying glasses are useful. They help me be a lot more precise with certain really small details, but they are certainly not necessary for most painting. But this model has some really fine details on some of the head and other areas that I want to have a little bit more visibility on. Also, I'm 42, so my eyes and I've always been legally blind in one eye, so my vision has never been the best. And the older I get, the more blurry it gets. So, you know, I do what I have to be able to see this stuff. Thanks. Kind of learned to paint. Tried my first dry brush highlighting. It ended up horrible. So what happened with it? I have a guess what probably happened with it, because most people that start dry brushing, there's a common thing that happens. So I have a guess of what might have happened, but did it ended up being like, what was terrible about it? Was it too cakey? Was it too streaky? What was going on there? If you want any feedback, if you want any suggestions, you do not have to. And I'm not trying to give unsolicited feedback, so if you don't want any feedback, that's a-okay. Or any suggestions, that's fine. One thing I try not to do, I try not to give unsolicited feedback unless specifically asked for it. So then it's not unsolicited anymore. But I try not to give feedback unless specifically asked for it, just because sometimes people just want to show off what they did. They don't want somebody tearing their mini apart or their work apart. They don't want suggestions right now. They just want to be able to relax and say, you know what, I did something I'm kind of proud of. I have improved. And they don't really want somebody saying, no, you could have done this, you should have done this, you forgot about this. Sometimes people just want to talk about what they just did. And so I don't do unsolicited feedback for that reason. Painted a whole Cantor blue layer with a lighter blue. Okay. So was the dry brush just too thick? Like, was there just too much paint on the brush? On your dry brush? So dry brush is one of those techniques where you kind of have to have a specific consistency of paint in order for it to like really work. Can't just use regular consistency of paint. It's not gonna work that way. I'm gonna take some of this here. It's brown. Where did I put that? There we go. Need some more dark umber here for this. Any suggestions or comments more than welcome? Okay. Well, we'll see. Just a second. So when dry brushing, have any recommendations of some high quality brushes? Yeah. So from gaming companies, Monument Hobbies, Sables are good. Game Envy Sables are good. I like both of those from a gaming perspective, from a gaming company's perspective. If we're going for art companies, then Raphael 8404s are good. I tend to prefer Rosemary & Co.'s Series 33s, Kolinsky Sables. Da Vinci has really good Kolinsky Sables as well, but I can't remember which ones are most common for miniature painting. But all of those, basically Kolinsky Sable brushes do tend to be expensive, but that's because their bristles are really, really good, and they're kind of hard to harvest. But they do involve, animals dying. So there's that. If that's not a big deal for you, then we're good. I've got a bunch of them. I was just using one here. But if you're looking for decent quality synthetics, then any paintbrush that has a golden Taklon bristle, that's probably some of the better synthetics, in my opinion. Okay, Call Me Coochie here is something with dry brushing. You need to remove a lot more paint than you think you do when you're dry brushing. That way it prevents it from getting caked on. Where's a decent color here for this? So let's say you get your paint, and we're gonna dry brush this dude here real quick. I'm gonna use you can use all different colors for this. I'm just gonna start it with a really light color just so it shows up. But generally I start with darker colors and work up. But I use a wide bristle brush, and I tend to use makeup brushes. You can also use purpose-made dry brushes from Army Painter and Artist Opus and things like that. Or you can use bigger wedge brushes from the art store. That's fine too. But I tend to use makeup brushes because the bristles are soft, and that tends to work pretty well for dry brushing. Now, once I've got that paint there, I rub most of it off, so there's only a very little amount of paint left on the bristles. Sometimes I take too much off, but there shouldn't be any paint coming off on my hand. You want so little paint that it's not coming on the back of your hand, and then you're just going to lightly. This is referring to the pressure you use on your paintbrushes. Again, I mentioned this before. You want to be really light with your dry brushing. So you want to remove the vast majority of paint off of your brush. So a lot more than you usually think. So there's basically nothing left on your brush. It is only a very small amount of tacky paint. And then you lightly go over your model. And you kind of go the direction of the light. So if, in this case, this guy's the light's coming from top to bottom. And if I need to make this heavier, I can make this heavier by doing multiple passes. But yeah, the key, what most people mess up on with dry brushing is they don't understand that you need to have like no paint on the brush. You are loading the paint, the brush up with a lot of paint, and then you are getting rid of most of it. You want like nothing on the brush. Because the only paint, because one, you don't want the paint to flow, so you want it to be mostly dry and just kind of tacky, so you need to get rid of most of your liquid paint off of the brush. And what that allows is when you're drawing that tacky paint over the harder details on your model, those edges scrape the pigment and that tacky paint off of your brush and onto just that ledge, just that edge. That's what is happening with dry brushing. The paint is not flowing. The paint is being scraped off by these details. That is what's happening here. And the reason softer bristles, in my experience, are better is because they're softer when they flick over those details, they don't flick back into place very hard, so you're less likely to get streaking. A lot of times with paint you've got too much paint on the bristle, or if the bristles are really really rigid, it'll create streaking because there's too much paint on the bristles, and the bristles will flip back and drag themselves over other parts of the model, and it'll create streaks of paint. So soft bristles and very, very little dry paint on the model. Like no wet paint, mostly almost entirely dry and sticky paint. But then you've got this dry brushing. Are you using a paper towel? I do have a paper towel here. I also do have a texture palette. That is useful too. You could also use construction paper. A lot of people that do lots of dry brushing don't like paper towels because it actually sucks too much moisture out of the paintbrush, which it can be a problem, especially if you're doing certain types of dry brushing. So oftentimes you want like a non-heavily absorbent surface, like a piece of MDF or some construction paper. Shouldn't use a paper towel, leaves too much pigment, makes it textured. Yeah. So a paper towel does just pull out a lot of the extra moisture for certain. I'm super new here. How do you have him stuck to the cork? For the cork, for the hem. Let's see. Where'd I put him? There he is. I have paper clips. I drilled holes up into the bottoms of his feet with a pin vise, and then put paper clips and super glued them up there, and then I shoved the paper clips into the cork. That's one way to mount a mini onto some cork. If a mini has a base, or if I've already put a base on it, then I'll use poster tack on top of a piece of cork or a soda bottle cap and hold them there too. Yeah, chipboard, that can work too. Yeah. All right, we got about 5 minutes before ads start on the purple site. So when that happens, we will be taking a break. So 5 minutes before a break, we take a 3 to 5 minute break. It is important to take breaks when you're doing stuff like this. Give your eyes a rest, get up, walk around so you're not sedentary all the time. Also, it's a good chance to hydrate and use the bathroom, all that fun stuff. So we got 5 minutes before our scheduled break, and I try to take a break every hour while we're here, just so that I'm not losing track and not dehydrating myself or anything like that. Yeah, if I get super into something, like answering a question or something like that, sometimes I won't take a break, but I generally try to take a break and then answer questions when I get back. Now these gems on his belt, we're gonna paint those purple. So I feel like working on them for a second. Now we're gonna let these dry. Thanks, you helped me a lot. I'll tell you how it went. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Call me. Absolutely. Happy to help. Okay. Now, when painting gems, thinking about the direction of the light, and then your highlight is generally going to go on the opposite side of the direction of the light. So if the light's coming down like this, that means it's going to shine through the top of the gem here, and it's going to reflect off the backing down here, which is where all of the highlighting is going to be. So we're taking a lighter purple, and we're doing kind of a half moon across half of the gem right there, and you guys can barely see that, but I'll see if I can zoom in here when we get back so you can see a little bit more of it. I'm going to do the same thing over here, kind of covering half of it with a lighter purple, but it's the half that's not directly towards the light source. And then when we come back, then we'll continue to light that up, and then have a couple of reflection points on the on these as well. See, that is a tip of a detail there, and so is that. Those are going to catch light. That's going to catch light. Come on. Okay. Add more gold color to this design on his cheek here. Go. Any method you recommend to learn where you should highlight and where not to? Yes, there's a couple different ways. When you've primed your mini, if you're not sure where to do highlights, then put it underneath a light. And so, like, let's see, there's a light over here. One of my desk lamps is over here. I'm going to bring it in close. And I tilt my the figure or the thing I'm painting towards it. And so assuming the light's coming from up top, then that's where I have the light. And then I can see where the reflections are. That's generally where the highlights are going to be. And then the more you do this and the more you become familiar with, how different shapes reflect light, you'll need to do this less and less. Because you'll just know. It's like, oh, that's a cylinder and the light's from up top, so the light's going to be right about here. And you'll get more used to it. But yeah, generally, like, hold your piece up to a light after you've primed it, and then take a photo. That's a good way of figuring out where highlights are going to be, or where they would be for that if the light was in that position. And then worst comes to worst, just like look at it from the top. Like look at it from above, right? See, and then anything you see that should have some form of highlight, most likely. Should at least be mid-tone, and the things that are more towards the top should be brighter. So there's a couple different quick ways to do it. It all takes practice. There's no silver bullet, unfortunately. All right, we've got ads started over here, so we're going to take our break. We will be back in 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you do stick around until we get back, go hydrate, walk around, enjoy yourself. Okay. We're back. Sorry that took a little longer than expected. Hey, Michael Paints Minis. Enjoy the emotes. Count Zacula, I am doing okay. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. How are you doing tonight? I don't remember what I was working on. What was I working on? Working on the face. Yeah, I was working on the gold. The gold on the face area. I want to work on the chirp of his head as well. Not bad, still working on Battleclade, but I'm on the last two models. Nice! The end is in sight. Excellent. Well, I hope those last two go fairly quickly for you and you feel good about them. It's been a long little road there, eh? Alright, let's see. Am I missing anything? No. Didn't want to ignore anybody before I locked in a little bit here. I tried out Pro-Krill's brush on primer for the first time. I was not enthusiastic about the results. The Tyranid is now in isopropyl soup. Though I'm not sure if it was a user error or maybe just all that white primer is kind of a nightmare. Give it another go sometime soon to get a better idea. Brush on, yeah. Give it another go, just see how it is, but like I've never used any of the white brush on primers. I've only used the blacks. Black primers for brush on. White in general is just usually awful to work with. But if it works, hopefully, if you can get it to work, that'd be nice. But it can be, seems like it can be kind of rough with white. Sorry, I'm focusing in here real hard. I'm sorry if you guys can't see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get these tiny little details here White primer is a nightmare in general, not one that I don't. Yeah, it tends to be. It tends to be a bit of a pain. Little bit of a pain. Let's go with our next level of highlight up here. Kind of our last little bit of bright, shiny gold. Doesn't quite look like gold, but I'm gonna try Mr. Hobby's primer at some point. But being a lacquer, I'm gonna have to upgrade my spray booth. Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard lots of good things about Mr. Surfacer and things like that. Out of the Mr. Hobby range. But yeah, being a lacquer does make it a little bit more difficult to do, especially indoors. Although or if you're in an area that doesn't have a warm weather and you can do it outside, it makes it a lot harder. 100%. All right, we're gonna leave that for now. Oh wait. Yeah, it's definitely not worth poisoning yourself. 100%. Definitely not. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Whether it's about miniature painting or Necromunda lore or anything like that. Happy to try and answer any questions anybody has. We're there not just for me to like paint in front of everybody, but also if anybody has questions about where to start or anything like that, I'm happy to spend some time talking about that. Want to be here to encourage and encourage people when they're starting in this hobby, or if they're curious about it. Try and answer any questions that might be a roadblock for them. Oop! Just bumped my microphone there. Sorry. Okay. So we just mapped out. Hey, Nemesis, how are you doing? We just mapped out some of the basic kind of mid-tone of this non-metallic steel on the shoulder pads, the trim of the shoulder pads here. And we're going to let that dry. Then we can come in here and look at a little bit of stipple blending between this and the darker beginning of the highlight, and then we can keep on blending that. Is non-metallic metal.
Welcome to the Great Library.
Blending can be very important, but it is not the end-all be-all. As long as you've got layering or something in there to help fuzz the transition, you do not have to have buttery, smooth blends. And we talked about that a little bit ago. I can show the example mini that I mentioned before. Again, I'll probably do that and just show you how even rough blends can make non-metallic. It can work for non-metallic metal very, very well, very easily. So it's more about light placement, and I'm getting more and more convinced and more kind of proof from other people that light placement, the placement of highlights, is so much more important than blending. Blending looks nice, but blending doesn't make something look convincing. Light placement does. So where you put the highlights, where you put the shadows, those are much more important than blending when it comes to making something look good and something that makes it look good to the human eye. Because the human eye can kind of do an optical trick and blend stuff in it itself, but if the highlights don't look real, or if they're not where the human eye's kind of expecting them to be, the brain knows that there's something wrong then. It's like, that doesn't look right. It just becomes much more important. It's looking great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Painted my very first miniature. Definitely see the mistakes I made. Learn to keep keen to learn how to correct the mistakes. Yeah, Raymond, absolutely. Learning, when you're painting, you're absolutely going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but what you learn by painting more and more is you learn how to adjust and correct those mistakes. And that is a huge part of your confidence as a painter. Is you're like, okay, yeah, I've made this mistake before. Last time I painted, I did this and it didn't work out well, and I see what I did wrong, and so now you know how to adjust for it, or you know how to avoid it next time. And that's a huge part of why painting fairly consistently, not every single day, not, for 8 hours a day, 30 minutes every other day, something like that. It's super useful, because it just gives you that exposure and that practice to gain confidence in your painting ability. To the point that I think it's helpful for people to remember that no one at the game store is going to pick up one of your minis and pick up a magnifying glass. That is true. That is also true. Have I done a Lionel Johnson mini? No, I haven't. I've had too many other projects going on, and I just haven't done Lionel Johnson. I haven't done Gulliman yet either. I keep looking at him like, I kind of want to do those at some point, but I have too many other projects that I'm working on and need to prioritize those. Okay, but I do plan on it. It is in the works. It is being planned for. I have every intention of painting both of those at some point. I just don't know when. I don't know when I'm going to be able to. Okay, we're going to go in here with a little bit more of a brighter highlight. And we're going to do it right down into here. Now I'm trying to keep, because this shoulder pad is part of a cylinder, which means that the highlight's going to go down like this, right? It's going to travel along the arm. So I'm trying to keep these highlights in kind of the same position as this highlight here. So these, because the light's going to travel down the whole arm in the same area. So I want to keep these aligned. And I'm just using some fairly thin paint to brighten that up a little bit. I'll probably go one level higher there. Now over here is a different area, so we're going to go right in the middle. All this needs to be a little adjusted. I think I've got the mid-tone a little too small in a couple of these spots. Go right in here, and then boop. And let's do a little bit here. Right down in the middle, too. Lionel Johnson, if so, Lionel. Said we're painting train. Yeah. I was gonna see how to do it. Yeah, painting Lionel Johnson would take multiple streams. I mean, to paint a Primarch, I would want to dedicate a lot of time to it. So it would take, either Lionel Johnson or Gulliman. It would take probably total of maybe 50 hours if I or closer to 100 if I wanted to really like do the Primarch justice to my ability. I would be pushing myself really hard. So there'd be plenty of opportunities for you to see, because that, let's see, if I did even 3-hour streams for 100 hours, that's like 90 streams. And that's like 10 months. We would be talking, if I were to only work on it on stream, we'd be talking, you know, a good chunk of the year. I may have messed up on my math there, but I don't think I did. 3-hour streams, project 90 hours. That's 30 streams. Divided by 4, that's 28 would be 7. So that'd be like 8 months, 7.5 months is how long it would take to do that many streams. So there'd be plenty of time for you to see. Plenty of time. No, it'd be half that because I wasn't doing twice a week. So it'd be 4 months, like 4 months worth of streaming to do that many hours. Yeah, that's looking cool. I'm in the same boat right now with Commander Farsight. I have assembled, but haven't actually started on it. Yeah. That happens. Happens, we get stuck, and we just like, I'm not sure where to go or how best to move forward with this. So it just kind of sits there for a while. Totally get that. I don't think his face is quite where I want it. Keep looking at it, it still looks... Oh, excuse me. It still looks really flat. One of the problems of not working with like a full painting handle on miniatures that have bits that hang out like this is your hand is eventually going to just rub paint off of certain areas that you're going to have to come back in and repaint. I could probably avoid... Oh, there's a cat hair in there. My title has a typo. Oh, it does. Thank you. There we go. Updated. Let's see. Holding off painting until the new year. Warhammer has a 1,000,000 model challenge coming up. Wait, what? What is that? I just heard they're doing a made-to-order run for Sister's Box from 7 years ago. I think it's just the strangest thing. Oh, interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. Depending on what it is. I always like the made-to-order stuff, just seeing what they're doing. 7 years ago. Was that like the initial release of the Sisters models? Does that have that like one-piece canoness in it and stuff like that? It was a pretty cool piece, but nothing groundbreaking. Not anymore anyway. Now that the whole range is out, there's nothing in there that's not available otherwise. I wonder why they decide to do made to order for certain things. It's like Do you have this stuff in stock and it's just extra, but then why is it made to order? You're just saying it's made to order? They have prices for 25, 50, and 100 models painted. It's a system. Okay, yeah. Oh, interesting, Nemesis. I've not heard of that. That's interesting. Is that through the Games Workshop stores or through the website, or how is that being what's the word I'm looking for? Coordinated, determined. Okay, so it's through GW proper. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. That seems really interesting. Always curious what big events they're doing. I like seeing what's there. Okay, so I want to work a little bit more on the gem, just because I want to give my brain a little break from non-metallic metal, and let's get the gems knocked out here. So I'm going to do 2 more purple colors for the gems. We'll see how those end up. So once again, when you're painting gems, you take the direction that the light is coming from and you paint the other side, the opposite side of the gem. So for example, I don't have any paper here anymore. So if I have a gem like this, it's just dark purple, and if the light's coming down from like this direction, from the top, I want to paint, because the light's going to penetrate through the top of the gem, and then it's going to bounce around, and it's going to come out down here on the opposite side. So the light's going to come in from the top, and then it's going to bounce around, and it's going to come out it's going to light up the bottom side down here. So what you do is you come in and you highlight all the way down there. And then you take like an off-white or a white, generally a white, but then you have like a bright spot here, right in the middle there. Then also you show a gleam right there in the top. And so the light's coming down here, and it's initially bouncing off of the surface of the gem here, but then the light that's coming through bounces around on the inside, and it shows up down here. Now, this is like a very dark gem. If I wanted to make a much lighter looking gem, I would expand this initial color much larger. Right, I do that, and then I do the subsequent layers. Larger as well. Let's see. There's always some adjusting that goes back and forth. How it goes. Kind of like that. You explain it so simply, just mess it up every time. Seems so simple. That's the thing. Like it is. That's just something you just keep practicing, and all of this is hard won knowledge, right? This is not. There's no gifting here. This is all for me, trying it and fucking it up, and trying it and fucking it up. So, we're in the same boat there. But this is. From what I've been taught and everything, this is how you do like a basic gym. Now, is it the most realistic? No. Does it look good? Yes, it looks awesome. There's more realistic ways to do it, but it's really hard to do that with painting. So, like this is just the way I do it. And if you mess it up, that's okay. Just try. Keep trying again and again and again, and develop the ability, because this is hard to do. Develop the ability to self-analyze what you're doing, and then you can have a much easier time figuring out what's going wrong. That is a skill that is extremely useful for any kind of painting or anything. Is that self-analysis and like, okay, why didn't this work? What about this isn't right? If I compare this to my example, what's different? Why is this not working? And then if you can break that down, it's really helpful for you to like, oh, okay, I need to not do this next time. And that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've taken, is the ability to self-analyze. And if you can't self-analyze or you're having problems, then yeah, that's where you have other painter buddies and communities like on Discord and forums. That's where you reach out to them and get that feedback, get help from them. That's why having community, whether it's local, whether it's just one or two people, or whether it's online, that's why it's really helpful. And speaking of Discord, we do have a Discord where you can do those types of things in the Discord. Oh, Whisper, is Nemesis your buddy that you were mentioned before? Very cool. And worst comes to worst, there's no problem that being thrown in the isopropyl soup can't solve. Yes, exactly. If you mess up, then you can always just strip the model, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or if you haven't put a whole lot of paint on it, you can just prime back over it. Ben Cantor, who is an incredible painter and has won many Golden Demons, he rarely strips models. He just primes over them and goes again. Ah! It's way too much. Oh well. Okay, so on those, I had too much paint on my brush, and I've ended up blobbing a lot of paint on there. So this one down here, I'm going to take my original dark purple and come in here and then clean some of this up. So it's not quite as big, it's not quite as blobby. And get used to doing a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of back and forth between colors that you're going to have to do. make a mistake, you get to go back in and say, okay, let's paint this back over. There we go. We've cleaned those up a bit. I need to talk in my head when I paint. That sounds like wishing some form of horrible mental struggle on yourself. I can't condone having me whisper in your head. That seems like it'd be I have me whispering in my head, and it's a problem. I'm already mentally broken. You can make it better. Oh, well. Useless wizards as a cognito hazard is crazy. Yeah, right? Okay. Okay. Ooh, that's a skull. Okay. Okie dokie. How do I want to handle that? It's gonna be gold, but... Let's see. I need... Need an off-white that's kind of warm. Gonna use olive flesh here. I don't know if I remember to mention, but for one of the tech priests from Battle's Clade, apparently I forgot to glue on one of those tentacle arms and didn't even notice until I was almost done painting him. Oh no! Oh, that's funny. Well, I mean, hopefully it is something that you can either ignore or that you can easily redress. It's super not noticeable. He always has a whole mess of tentacle arms and can leave it be. Yep, that's fair. That is a fair decision. It ain't broke, don't fix it. And if nobody knows it's broken, it's still working, it still ain't no reason to fix it. Okay, I think I'm done for the night. Just looking at them, there's nothing else I really want to work on at the moment. I'm just not feeling driven to work on anything else at the moment. We've been working on it for about 2 hours now, which is a decent amount of time. The next thing is what else we have to do is obviously the staff, obviously the magic in or the force, the power that he's got in this arm and curling around his arm here, and then his backpack with the giant veins here, the blade, the like almost blades, but then there's some kind of like purple in the official artwork. There's like purple possession type tentacles happening all over the back of this, and that's going to take some time to render. I don't really want to work on it right now, so I think we're probably done for the night. I feel pretty good about where he is, more or less, from the front here. I think he's fairly readable. He's a little bit busy, but I think he's definitely more readable than he was. I'm still liking the colors. I still like how everything's working together, so I feel pretty good about this. Yeah, I think he's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and end there, I think. I might stream tomorrow because I'm off work until the 5th. So I might stream tomorrow. I might do some extra streams during the week. I did a test stream yesterday. So we'll see how all that goes. Why is YouTube... Okay, there we go. It had to reload. Yesterday. Okay, that's still going. All right. Good. Okay, snooze the ad. So, let's go, I'm gonna find someone to raid to over here. Let me go ahead and end the YouTube. TikTok, thank you so much for hanging out tonight.